Namaste. My name is Rohil and today I'm going to be taking you through a bit of yoga philosophy. So today we are going to discuss the nature of the mind and also in light of the Yoga Sutras of Patanjali. So we're going to speak first about Patanjali's view on what the mind is, and then also going to talk about the 5 stages of the mind and how we are attempting through all our yoga practices to change or to bring our mind more into stillness. So Patanjali really sees the mind as a projector, you can say, and that the mind is projecting reality. Through the mind, we are creating our own reality. The reality that we wish is being created through it. And so it's really the practice of yoga is all about bringing the mind into one pointed focus, into stillness. That is where our mind is its most powerful. We can really manifest what we desire in our life. We can live a life free of suffering. A mind that is not been trained or has not sort of practiced yoga is a mind that is scattered. It's scattered in many different directions. There are many different thoughts, many different ideas, and the mind is not able to focus on one particular strand. And this sort of makes the mind weak in the process. So in the 5 stages of the mind, the first stage is a disturbed mind. So this is called Ksipta in Sanskrit. So Ksipta, the disturbed stage of the mind, is a mind where somebody is constantly going through sort of difficulties. They're constantly reacting to their environment around them. There may be challenges in the environment. Somebody is angry at them, or somebody does something not nice to them. They immediately react again with anger and with continuing that cycle. So the Ksipta stage of the mind has somebody who is completely not grounded. It's somebody who is constantly angry, constantly in very intense emotions. So they also suffer a lot as a result of that. So we must also realize that when we speak about the mind in Patanjali's sutras, we are speaking about the mind as having many different aspects to it. So in English, of course, we use the word mind, which means mind, the whole thing. But in Sanskrit, we talk about the mind as having many, many different aspects. And so when we speak about the mind in this way as having different aspects to it, we have a mind that is troubled. One aspect of the mind is what we call identification. So where we begin to identify with objects outside of us. So we identify with belief systems, we identify with thoughts, we identify with shared groups. So it could be religions, a shared belief. You belong to some group which does a particular activity together or believes in the same thing. This is one aspect of the mind, is this identification. It's this aspect of building up our identity, of creating an identity. Another aspect of the mind is that the mind is always trying to move into the future or the past. So we are either always thinking about things in our future, we are always planning ahead, trying to do things, always wanting more and more in our future, or we are thinking about our past. We have memories from the past, we are bringing up those memories from our past, and through the experiences that we've had in our past, it also shapes the way we desire things in the future. So these are just some of the aspects in which the mind works. So now somebody in the Ksipta stage of the mind, in the disturbed stage, they are somebody who is having a hard time being present. They cannot be present. They're always either in their past, in memories of the past, or in the future planning. And when something in their environment comes up around them, they don't have that space created between themselves, the person who's reacting, and that stimulus. So as soon as something comes, they react. They don't have a moment to think about it and to maybe shape their reaction in a different way. So this is the first stage of the mind. The second stage of the mind is Muddha. Muddha means dull or depressed. So this is a stage of the mind where the individual again doesn't have passion. They lack passion, purpose. They lack that drive to create something in life. And this comes from a stage where we sort of, again, we start to notice that things outside of us affect us in a particular way, but we still don't understand or realize our potential to actually take charge of the situation around us. And so we still are reacting to anything that comes from the external world to us. So we are depressed because of, or we are feeling dull and lethargic because of, it could be work or relationships or any situation that comes up. So in that sense, life is still not under our control. Our mind is still not under our control. Our mind is creating a lot of suffering simply based out of these external circumstances and the way we react to them. Then we have the third stage of the mind, Vikshipta. Vikshipta means restless. So this is somebody who is very restless, is always moving from one thought to the next, one project to the next, one idea to the next, and who cannot find that stillness, that groundedness. However, Vikshipta is still it's still a stage of the mind where we have some control over the mind, and we are, unlike in the Muddha stage of the mind, we are trying to achieve things. We are setting goals for ourselves. We are setting sort of things that we want to go towards. We are trying to make ourselves into better versions of who we are. And so Vikshipta, according to a lot of teachers, Vikshipta is the stage where yoga can truly begin to happen. So in the restless stage of the mind is truly where we can start. So unlike the first stage of the mind, which is Shipta, where we are constantly, in Shipta stage, there's a disturbance. So we could easily commit a crime, hurt somebody. All of these situations are very possible. But in Vikshipta, we are still aware of our external circumstances. We are not going to go out of our way to commit a crime or to hurt somebody or to harm somebody. But at the same time, we don't have that control over our mind to truly create what we want to create. We cannot manifest our inner being, our inner desires in the way that we want, because we are constantly jumping from one thing to the next to the next. Then we have the fourth stage of the mind, which is Ekagrata. Ekagrata, which means one-pointedness. So at this stage of the mind is when our full potential of the mind is revealed, is where we can really use the mind in a powerful way. Because Ekagrata, in this stage, we are able to focus on a particular object of our focus, a particular thing, a particular project, a particular plan. We don't deviate. It's very difficult for our mind to get distracted. So whereas in the previous stage, in the Vikshipta stage, say I'm sitting down to do some work or I'm sitting down to study, and immediately half an hour later some distracted thoughts come in and I have to pull my mind back to my work or to my study. Whereas in this stage, in the Ekagrata stage, we are in this one-pointed focus where the distractions don't even arise. So this is actually quite an advanced stage of the mind already, and through the various practices of yoga, we are attempting to reach to this fourth stage and the fifth stage, which I will explain in a moment. But again, in the Ekagrata stage of the mind, our thought process is very different in terms of we are no longer jumping from one strain of thought to the next. So we are very focused. We know we can prioritize the things that are important to us, the things that are not important to us. We can prioritize our work. We are much more efficient. And you find a lot of people, even who don't practice yoga, can achieve this stage of Ekagrata just through mental training, through concentration practices. And a lot of the people who are successful in the world today have this quality of being able to really bring their mind into one-pointed focus or concentration. The fifth stage of the mind, Niruddha, is a well-controlled stage of the mind. So Niruddha means to control, so well-controlled. So here the mind is completely under our control. And this is a very advanced stage of dhyan, of meditation. And through our yoga practices, our state of mind itself should resemble that meditativeness. And so at the well-controlled stage of the mind is somebody who is can have a thought at will. Another important thing that I haven't mentioned yet is the way in which in the yoga philosophy the concept of thoughts are. And thoughts are not seen as something that belongs to us, but rather as something that is passing through us. So when we begin to see our thoughts as something that is passing through us, then we don't actually claim identification with these thoughts. So we don't see these thoughts as an important part or integral part of who we are. Our identity is not based on our own thoughts. So in the well-controlled state of the mind, we are no longer simply, thoughts are no longer just arising at random. Our thoughts are arising slowly, and we are observing them from the moment that they arise. And so at this stage of the mind, if for instance you really wanted to relax and you wanted to go, say, to watch a sunset near you, maybe on the beach or from any other beautiful location, you can be sitting before the sunset, watching the sunset, and be completely not have a single thought through that entire period that you're watching the sunset. Whereas if you were in the Vikshipta stage of the mind, you finished a long day of work and you now are going to watch the sunset, and you sit in front of the sunset and you actually don't even experience the sunset because you're thinking of all the different things that you have to do tomorrow, or you're thinking about what plans you can make, or your future, or your past. All these thoughts are coming up. And so in the Niruddha stage of the mind is somebody who can be in that complete stillness. So whenever they are at rest, which means that whenever they are not actively doing something or the other, their mind is automatically going into a thoughtless state, a state of stillness. So this is in some ways the whole goal of the practice. We do the asana, the breathing practices, the pranayam, the meditation, dhyan, pratyahar, all the different aspects of the yoga practice are hopefully one day leading us to this point of a well-controlled mind. Because if our mind is well-controlled, we no longer suffer. And if we no longer suffer, we can truly create and manifest into our life our true purpose. That's all for this video. Thank you for watching and see you soon. Namaste.